All right, welcome back. It has been far too long. Got myself in a spot of trouble once again with eBay, but obviously who could resist, right? It's an Omega. I got two Omegas. You'll probably see the other one a little bit later. And both of them cost less than $500. So this is a basically $239 watch that you're looking at. And I think I did exceptionally well for that price, besides the fact that it's just not working. That's just the case, isn't it, right guys? But that's what we're here to help. We're taking a look at the balance over here, and despite blowing air, you would think it goes all the way up the chain. It's basically kind of stopped right on the pallet. So without further ado, we're gonna open this up. This is a 3-piece case. It makes it pretty easy to take a look at the, whoa, look at that. Look at the top and the bottom of the watch. And obviously the first thing I'm noticing over here is this dial. I mean, man, this hasn't been touched, looks like ever. Besides that little speck of dust we just blew away. This watch, the serial number comes out of 1969. And this is fantastic looking. I think it was obviously worn very hard, you know, by the amount of residue that's on the outside of the case. I don't think that it was ever serviced. If it was, someone did a really good job not leaving any scratch marks on any of the screw heads. But there's no information on the case back, no service marks. In reality, this could be the first time that this watch is opened. I did notice though that the crystal is not authentic. By that I mean it doesn't have like the little Omega logo on it. So maybe it had a crystal replacement in its life. But besides that, you'll see what I mean. I mean, look at this. The dial is just unbelievable, in great shape. So let's take that away first. Let's make sure not to scratch that. And you might see my head poke itself in a few times in this video. I'm not really good with keeping my forehead out, apparently. Just keep on the lookout for that. All right, here's that forehead that I was talking about. It's right over here. So first, we're gonna take off the world's tiniest screw known to man. And this is part of how the crown gets pushed into the watch. Okay, this little lever holds that down and applies pressure. And the top side of this movement in particular, it's actually pretty easy. There's not much to it. This piece right here really holds down all below it, including the yoke spring, the transmission wheels over here. Pretty easy to put this one back together. And whenever you take out the transmission wheel, it's always a good idea to notice if a certain side is sloped and if a certain side is not. That'll really help you out when you reassemble the watch. And I guess we'll talk a little bit about the movement itself. This 601 movement, you'll see this a lot on kind of transitional models where they're trying to figure out how best to put the seconds hand in the center rather than having a sub-seconds hand. The 601 movement is one of those movements where there's a very small pinion that goes right through the center wheel and sticks out to the other side, and that provides the seconds hand, second movement. With that said though, if you guys are looking to take your crack at one of these, I can't say I 1000% recommend this type of movement. It's pretty easy to put together and take apart, But this second hand and the way that they do this, and a lot of different types of movements that have the same type of second hand, it could get really tricky. And I think you'll notice a little bit later on what I'm talking about. On this, you know, trying to disengage and wind the crown back wasn't really going to do anything, as it seemed like everything was kind of stuck in this pallet area. What we're going to do is we're going to basically jam up the escapement wheel, okay? And a little piece of Rodico is there to help me out on that. We're going to take the pallet fork away, and then the power ideally will release down the train of wheels. Okay, so quickly we take the pallet out. And here you can see the energy is trying to escape. And let me tell you guys, we're gonna be here for just a minute. This is how dirty this movement really is. It seems like it's moving slowly. I sped this up about 10 times. You can see on that third wheel right away, there's a little bit of dirt and debris. It's gonna help move it along. And there's my top of my head over there, sorry. Now we're gonna give you a little closer look at what's going on over here. Again, this is 10 times sped up. I literally left it. I walked away for 20 minutes. I came back and it was still trying to unspin. And you do have to let the power out before you attempt to remove all the wheels for best practice. I mean, you don't want to damage any teeth. Forcing it ahead a little bit like this, I could be a little bit more gentle, I guess, in retrospect, but the major goal over here is to really make sure that this is without power before we remove the train. And if you take a look at that escape wheel, you could see how there's a kind of oil that's like bubbling up a little bit. I mean, it's in really bad shape. If this was serviced before, you really couldn't tell. I think this really is something that was straight out of 1969. Never changed the oil, possibly. Okay, so now this is the bridge that holds down this second-hand assembly. Okay, and if you really don't want to scratch up a nice movement like this, you're probably going to want to use brass tweezers. This is my own, and you know, I can't say I'm a professional at all this. But here, this is that pinion I was talking about, and look at that. We take out the second hand, and there's more energy to give. So this is part, again, of this type of movement where it's got the second pinion in there. That has to be totally clean. It goes through the center wheel, and I know you're looking at this once, but I actually took apart and put back together this movement 3 times. Okay, why? Because it just was not getting the best results. And you're gonna see the initial results at the end. I just was not happy with getting less than 200 amplitude. I know the oils probably didn't, you know, spend too much time going around, but at the end of the day, we did get this to about 240 amplitude, and I think about plus 5 seconds a day. But it was due to the second pinion still being a little bit dirty and the inside of that center wheel being very dirty. So you're gonna wanna pay attention to that. You're probably gonna wanna take maybe some magnification through the center wheel if again, you're looking to do this exact movement yourself. Other than that though, this is a fantastic watch. It's something you could definitely wear every single day. This is a very skinny to the wrist piece, meaning that it doesn't really have a whole lot of height to it. And it's just perfect. I mean, the dimensions are absolutely perfect. 18mm strap, nothing like an odd 19 or something like that. So it is a beautiful watch at the end of the day, and definitely worth your time if you feel like getting into one. All right, so this is that center wheel. Again, mine was so blocked up in the inside over here. That was really a big part of the problem. So let's turn our attention to the case over here. And it's a 3-piece case, like I said in the beginning of the video. That makes it really easy to kind of get everything disassembled here, taken apart. And it allows you to clean, you know, as much of the surface area as you think you'd like to get involved with. The crystal, since this wasn't an original crystal with a Omega logo on it, no real attachment on this. I think we can do away with that, replace that. That's an easy replacement in my opinion. And how I measure the size on this, I like to kind of pass it through the calipers. And I try to measure it a couple times, you know, don't push on the end of the crystal. So this measures 30.6, which means that this metal piece should be probably 30.5. And it sure is. Okay, so the right crystal for this probably would be 30.6 and kind of just pressed in a little bit, so there's a nice friction fit. We're going to take some pegwood, and we're basically going to go to town on this before it goes in an ultrasonic. And one of the things I think, if I ever do take this case apart again, maybe not, you know, I really like the way the watch turned out, but it could use a slight polish, and I think this whole watch would look like it just came out of 1969. Thankfully, there was no major dings or anything like that. The lugs, I think, on this could get a little twisted up or kind of bent. They're pretty skinny. So if you're looking out for one of these models, those are things I'd probably look for. And of course, I'm not going to show the whole process over here, but yeah, there's just a lot of dirt. And this is, you know, obviously this was somebody's pride and joy, and they'd really enjoyed wearing this. I don't really know what the number SP at the end of the Omega digits were on the back case. If somebody knows better, let me know. All right, and just like that, we're already looking at reassembly over here. I don't always show this. This is me putting the mainspring back into the barrel. It is always very tricky. I always feel like, oh, this thing could pop away from me. So I usually do it off camera. And this is a very old Witchcraft, I think it's called it, mainspring winder. You can see my struggle putting the arbor back in over there. All right, and reassembly, I will tell you guys right now, ignore the first part of this. I do leave some of my mistakes in just so you guys can laugh at it. But putting these two transmission wheels really isn't the way to go. And I think you'll see that in just a second when I take these two wheels out. But one thing that's very important is this piece, because this has to go through the plate on the other side that holds the barrel in place. So on some models of watches, you have to slip that in between the two main plates. On this model, you don't. I'm so kind of afraid of skipping over that I try to get that in pretty quickly. All right, so now we're gonna take the two transmission wheels out, and I decide to do it the right way and start on the other side of this once that little pusher for the crown and the crown stem is in. Barrel goes in place, so does the center wheel. You want to make sure that pusher is lined up before you tack down all this. And now we can turn it back over and put the transmission wheels on. And I know I'm not showing a lot of oiling points to save up some time, as this is a long video already. But all those definitely get a little bit of HP 1300 underneath. The smallest little dot of it. The white cream over here is Molykote DX. A lot of people prefer the blue slime. We're going to put the yoke over here. And we're going to put the spring. And yes, that probably took me about 20 minutes in real life to fit in. I'm just going to wipe up all the excess grease. And 2 screws go in here. That gets tacked down. And what I like to do is I like to put a little bit of grease before I put this spring pat down against everything. And trust me guys, don't do what I'm doing over here. You're gonna wanna put the canyon pinion before the transmission wheels of anything. Since I had obviously done that 19 times, I wanted to make sure that it was lined up at least before I put it in, but you will strip those transmission wheels. The hour wheel is what goes in after the canyon pinion, okay? All right, and I know a lot of models, this could be a reverse threaded screw. Usually when there's 2 screws, it's not. And that's the case over here. 2 screws, both go in just like any other screw would. Now we're gonna tack down the barrel. And sadly, there's nothing I can do about the crown wheel over there. It's got a little bit of rust to it, or discoloring. But other than that, I mean, this movement is really good looking, extremely good looking. The brass has just always been Omega's thing. Back in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, I've seen a lot of it. All right, and everybody that has watched the channel before, including my 170 subscribers or so, they know I'm a big fan of the tap it and go method. That didn't really work on this one. It's kind of sad, but this little pizza looking bridge over here really prevents it from working. And now that I've done this 3 times, I did a lot better than I did on video over here. But actually the wheel in the middle, okay, right after the escape wheel, the wheel in the medium height of the screen that you're watching right now, that's the one to get in first on this screen. Okay, so if you're having a really hard time putting this bridge in together. That middle wheel, I swear guys, if that's lined up, then you can get the escape wheel lined up, and I promise the bridge will be down in like 0.2 seconds. So after about 20 minutes, did get this in. I had to bring the big guns out. I had to actually use my microscope other than a camera. And of course, you know, the second that you want to make sure that's all tacked down real nice and as fast as possible so those wheels don't jump, you lose a screw underneath the movement holder. So again, I leave in some of that so you guys can see it. You know, it's not all perfect on camera. I know it looks like it is, but you know, a 30-minute video, oh, there we go again. A 30-minute video really could be hours and hours. And this one, trust me, not only did I have to take it apart a whole nother time, yep, I just, you know, after that whole bridge, I must have been low on blood sugar or something. All right, so this part is pretty important over here. I don't even know what this piece is really called, but this is the, I guess you could call it a tension spring for the seconds hand. And another way that I've learned, now that I've done this movement a couple times, that the seconds pinion is in good shape and the center wheel is not dirty, is that that should spring up when you put the seconds pinion kind of on top of it. Okay, so again, if you're doing this for yourself, or if you're trying to use this video to work on a movement that you happen to have, I think that's a really good tip. So here's what I'm talking about. You know, I put it all back together and I went to go check to make sure that all the wheels are turning without the pallet fork in there, and it's not. So we have to disassemble this. I'm gonna take the pallet seconds, I'm sorry, the seconds bridge off. And you can see it just seems like it's stuck. And then I realized to myself, you know what, it's probably the seconds wheel because that was the original problem. And it turns out that yes, it was just that dirty. Look, here we go. Here's all the power releasing again. So I wish I had this part on camera where I could show you how dirty that seconds pinion still was and like how totally blocked the center wheel was. But here we are, take two, it's all back together. And it's a good moment to reflect on all the work we've had to do so far to get to this point. I know it seems like I just put the seconds, you know, pinion back in, but truthfully, I took apart everything all again and put it back together. So I'm gonna put the pallet fork in. And what I do to make sure that the pallet fork is situated, very, very lightly, you can kind of see if it's moving left to right with no variance in height and depth. And that will tell you for sure that it's kind of locked in its pinions. Okay, and this is the ultimate test. If you take a very, very fine, your finest oiler, and put it against there with a little bit of wine in there, you should see it spring back and forth. So it's time to put the balance in. And that is a really good sign. I rarely get that where the balance just tries to spring up before you even get the screw in there. It's just an amazing feeling. I mean, this was a non-runner when we got it, so immediately it excites me to get it running. It actually looks like it's spinning like a top over here. I mean, you know, we didn't even oil anything yet. And from that position, it looks like it's got pretty good amplitude already. All right, so now we're gonna do the balance jewels, the cap jewels over here. And I do like to take a very fine tweezer to just kind of push up on each side of that gate. And then very, very slowly, you're just gonna try to lift the gate up. And with Rodico, you could take out the cap jewel. All right, so this is out of one dip. You're just going to lightly push on this with some pegwood. And I mean lightly. If you go on the side that has a slight dome to it, if you press too hard, it is gone, trust me. All right, so I didn't show the drop of oil that we put on here, but you will notice on my left hand, I've got the world's fattest set of tweezers. That's the secret. That's the secret to actually holding that cap jewel while you put a little droplet of oil. Okay, really what I like to do over here is I like to push these in side by side again. I like to twist around the entire movement so that basically you're just kind of sliding it, very minimal amount of movement. And that's it. Now it's time to do the other side. The other side to this does not have, I mean, I guess you could call it a cap jewel, but this one, you actually have to unscrew in order to get to this. And then it's a little gate that's holding down a cap jewel. Okay, so there's less risk to this. It's not like you have to spring anything. You could even kind of loosen the screw and push this gate to the side to get the cap jewel out. And you want to make sure not to sneeze, otherwise that gate is going to be gone. And here I'm going to show you guys a sped up version of this. But patience and, you know, having it just perfect to what you like. I mean, there's no harm in doing this a couple times. I know it sucks. I know it feels like it's a pain. But if the drop of oil is not in the center, or for some reason you are getting the tweezers stuck to the droplet of oil, just like I did over there. I mean, this is the third time we're doing this cap jewel, okay? But it's better to have it be correct than to be sorry a little bit later and feel like you didn't do your best. All right, so we have the cap back together. Now we're just going to drop this in. And there's my hair making an appearance. One day I'll be thankful that I took this shot. All right, and that's it. On a lot of other movements, what I'd like to do is actually do the cap jewels with the balance while we basically just have a nice plane with just that on it, you know? So it doesn't hurt to do the capsules with the balance as the only part attached to the main plate, and then disassemble that and then put it back all together at the end. I think that's a cleaner version and something that I've done on a lot of other movements. All right, so really small droplets of oil, especially for some reason, you know, over oiling on these mid 60s or late 50s, or let's just call it up to the 70s movements. They really don't like that, in my opinion. I've had to re-clean a movement because I felt like it was too much oil. I'm sure that's the case with a lot of movements, or, you know, over oiling is a thing for all movements, I guess you could call it. But for some reason, my luck, it's happened to these older Omegas where too much oil really has gummed up the works. Even when I thought it was enough, you know, just the right amount. All right, so we're finally getting to the end over here. You can see how nice the case cleaned up. It was in an ultrasonic for, I'd like to say, about 45 minutes. Then it got a nice alcohol bath after a soap and water bath. So this thing is really clean, but not back to factory. It's not like I went ahead and polished anything. If you look really closely at the hands, I feel like I could have polished the hands too, but I just kind of kept it original. So we're just making sure that this is exactly on the hour, and it is. Now we're going to put the seconds hand on. And yes, it did take me about 60 seconds before this move, so now we're a minute past. And a very small tap on here for the seconds hand. And we're really getting down to the bottom of it. I mean, this is looking fantastic. Look at this new glass. I will say something, a new acrylic really brings a vintage watch back to life. This is the last time we're taking a look at this lovely movement. I mean, it wasn't the last for me. I did this watch 9 other times. Okay, this was the initial reading. This is before I totally stripped it again. I was actually pretty happy with that, you know, but I knew I could do better. And this is a very poor angle, but it's all I've got of me closing this beautiful timepiece. There's a nice snap. Oh man, look, I mean, it's just, at this point, I gotta tell you guys, in real life, I was just like, wow, this is stunning. This is absolutely stunning. I mean, you cannot believe that this was from the 60s. It looks like something, you know, that just came out. Nice new strap. And it's just so beautiful. I have to show you some shots from outside. Just absolutely have to take this on the go. All right, so here is final result. And I mean, so take a look where we were just 35 minutes ago. Scratched up, cracked. And I mean, man, like I said, you know, I gotta say, sometimes I really do good things on eBay, I promise. And for $240, I think this is one of them. I mean, it did cost me a lot of time and investment, but thanks so much for coming along with me. And I'm sure there's gonna be another eBay watch, as there always is. Take care, guys.